Drake Maye has been sacked way too many times through 9 weeks, but we'll tell you why that's far from an offensive line only problem. We start there. This is Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, been covering the Pats for 16 years. Also the co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles and a sports radio veteran. On today's show, we'll explain why the Falcons complaining about the Pats cheating holds absolutely zero weight. Also, the injuries are piling up and brings to light one of the biggest concerns that we've had about this team from the very beginning. But first, Drake Maye has been under siege. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud partner of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Heading into Monday night, Drake Maye has been sacked the second most times in the NFL. It's a pretty crazy number. Drake Maye has been sacked 34 times. That's just under 4 times a week. And it's obviously way too often. If you're wondering who is first, it's Cam Ward, rookie quarterback, Tennessee Titans, coaching change, so bad offensive philosophy, rookie quarterback behind an offensive line that isn't very good. You can understand why Cam Ward has been sacked 38 times, but Drake Maye getting sacked 34 times. Now, not all sacks are created equal, and we have to understand that because sometimes some people make the same mistake. When they see sacks, they see that Drake Maye's been sacked 34 times, second most in the NFL. They say, man, the offensive line's terrible. The offensive line isn't doing their job. Now, let's start with the offensive line because in part, that's true. In part, the offensive line has struggled. We've talked about this throughout the season. It hasn't necessarily gotten better on a consistent level, but the offensive line has struggled against games. We saw it against the Atlanta Falcons. Stunts, twists, those types of things. The offensive line has had issues, and it's not just the rookie left side of the line. Onwenu, for example, not once but twice, was absolutely atrocious against a front stunt from the Atlanta defensive line. Just absolutely brutal. So getting tricked, getting fooled has been a problem. Another issue is just not anchoring down in pass protection. A lot of times, people that break down offensive line play, they tell you that you want to have it a little bit heavy in the tuk-tuk, right? The tukus, you want it to be a little bit heavy so you have that strong anchor so you're tough to move off your spot. Jared Wilson at left guard, he has not had that strong anchor. And it's a big reason why I would watch him play this season. In my evaluation right now, I would tell you he should be a center next year. He should move back to where he was at Georgia. He was drafted by the Patriots as a center, and I think inevitably he goes back to that spot on the O-line because he just does not have that big, powerful anchor. And if you go back against the Falcons, you watch that game over again. Watch the first snap of the third quarter. Straight out of halftime, Jared Wilson gets pushed back towards Maye. The very first snap of the second half. And then your offensive tackles from time to time have had some issues. I'll give you an example. Will Campbell against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. It's third quarter, 2nd and 5. You're on the Atlanta 14-yard line. You're cooking offensively. You're down inside the 20. There's just under 8 minutes left in the third quarter. You are trying to respond to what happened at the end of the half. And Jalen Walker, who we spent some time talking about before the draft from Georgia, a guy that many people had linked to the Patriots. If the Patriots decided to go with defensive line or just defense, period, end of sentence, a lot of people were looking at Jalen Walker. And on that third quarter snap, 2nd and 5 from Atlanta's 14-yard line, Jalen Walker absolutely destroys Will Campbell. Now, I will be fair to Will Campbell. It's not like Will Campbell was getting destroyed all day long. But on this particular snap, Jalen Walker owned Will Campbell. And so it's a sack. It's a 9-yard loss. You end up looking at a 3rd and 14. That pretty much ends the drive. And you end up with a field goal instead of a touchdown when you're in a great spot at 2nd and 5 from the Falcons' 14. So you can look at the offensive line against stunts. Been an issue. Young and older guys on that offensive line. You can look at just a bad anchor. You can look at speed at times beating the tackles. So all of that is true. The offensive line does obviously share some of the blame. But you know who else shares some of the blame? It's your quarterback. Drake Maye has his responsibilities as well when it comes to pass protection. He has to make sure that he sets the protection correctly. He understands what the defense is doing, and he puts his running backs and tight ends in the right position to make sure that they protect a blitz, for example. ID the blitz. But Maye, if you look at this Falcons game, he was at fault for at least 2 sacks, at least. And I'll give you those exact plays. The first 2 sacks by the Falcons, I had both of those on Drake Maye. The last play of the first quarter, it's a 1st and 10 from your own 35. There's a blitz. Drake Maye bails early. The offensive line actually handles the blitz. He has time. He bails out of the pocket early. And not only did the pass protection hold up against this blitz, but if you look at the all-22, Drake Maye also has Stephon Diggs open, and he has TreVeyon Henderson for a check down open. So 2 receivers are open. You've got good protection, but your quarterback, he bails early. He doesn't keep his eyes up. He doesn't find Stephon Diggs. He doesn't find TreVeyon Henderson. And instead, he gets sacked. Same drive, 1st and 10, all the way down at the Atlanta 30. Again, the Falcons blitz. Again, the Patriots do a good job of picking up the blitz. And Drake Maye, he has Austin Hooper open, running a crossing route. And for some reason, Drake decides not to throw the football. And he's standing in the pocket for about 3.5 seconds. Then he tries to move around and get another sack. So you had an open receiver in Austin Hooper. The blitz gets picked up. It's a 1st down. It's a critical down. You're just on the outside looking in the Atlanta red zone at the Atlanta 30, and you don't let the ball rip for some reason, and you hang on to it for about 3.5 seconds, and you take the sack. That's on the quarterback. Now, the good news is you still finish that drive with the Terrell Jennings touchdown run, even though your quarterback was at fault for 2 sacks. Both of those sacks were on 1st down. That's how you get behind the chains. That's how you get in trouble. The biggest issues for Drake Maye when it comes to taking sacks is sometimes he doesn't take the profit, like the first sack we just mentioned when he has Diggs and he has Henderson. Sometimes he doesn't remain a passer. Same thing. Had Stephon Diggs, had TreVeyon Henderson, did not keep his eyes up, did not remain a passer. And sometimes your quarterback just has to throw the football away. And the final thing that is resulting in all of these sacks is that other guys are failing. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just your quarterback, but you've got Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry at times not chipping well enough. TreVeyon Henderson, again, against the Falcons, was beat 2 or 3 times on Sunday. I'll give you one example. 4th quarter, again, it's on a 1st down. You're at your own 36, and TreVeyon Henderson loses against the blitz, ends up being a sack. So big picture, when you look at the Falcons game, Drake Maye was sacked 6 times. But half of those were actually not on the offensive line. 2 of them were on Drake Maye himself, and there was the other one on TreVeyon Henderson. Will Campbell gave one up, Jared Wilson gave one up, and Mike Onwenu gave one up. But when we look at these sacks and we look at the pressure even, we have to understand, we have to appreciate that that is not necessarily drawing a direct line to an offensive lineman every single time. There's more to the story. Drake Maye needs to be better. Your running backs, not named Rhamondre Stevenson, have to be better. Your tight ends in some spots have to be better. All right, Sunday's win could be more costly than some might appreciate. That's next. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. Am I right? That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Here's what's great about Built. Your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay. Whether you're grabbing food at your favorite local restaurant or heading to the gym, you're still earning rewards. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you. Don't forget to do a few things. If you're watching us on YouTube, I always ask at least once a show. I keep it quick, but don't forget to click that thumbs up. That helps us with the algorithm. Don't forget to throw a comment in your thoughts on Drake Maye being sacked almost 35 times through the first 9 weeks of this season. And also don't forget to subscribe as we climb towards 7,500 subs, building this Patriots community on the Locked On Network. You know, before the season kicked off, one of my biggest concerns, and I think many of you shared this concern, was that when you have a lot of holes on your roster and you have a lot of turnover of that roster, like we saw during the offseason, it leaves you thin. You can feel pretty good about your starters. You could feel pretty good about maybe going too deep at certain positions. But when you look at the totality of this football team, you look at the 53-man, it is a thin roster. And you're not going to be able to survive an accumulation of injuries, especially in certain spots. And now this is starting to be brought up because Rhamondre Stevenson has the toe issue. Who knows how long he's going to be out? We'll have to wait and see. I would not sit here and say that, oh, well, Rhamondre wasn't put on the, IR, which means he's probably in good shape. The Patriots might not be putting Rhamondre Stevenson on the IR just yet as a leverage play heading into the trading deadline if they want a running back. If a team knows that Rhamondre Stevenson is significantly and seriously hurt and he's going to miss a long stretch, that team is going to feel better about holding the Patriots over a barrel, right? So I would not necessarily say we're out of the woods with Rhamondre Stevenson just yet. Then during the Falcons game, Christian Elliss leaves early with a hip injury. Kayshon Boutte leaves with a hamstring injury. Let's start with Kayshon Boutte. He posted on social media, yes, because it's 2025. I'm not sure how the team is going to enjoy this or love this or like this or hate this, but Kayshon Boutte posted on social media that he has a grade 1 hamstring strain. Now, usually a hamstring strain, a grade 1, will keep you out anywhere between 1 and 3 weeks. But we went through this whole hammy thing with Christian Gonzalez, didn't we? And I've said this, and I will remain consistent with this. Hamstrings always concern me. Hamstrings and calf strains are the two injuries, the soft tissue injuries that scare the crap out of me because hamstrings are very difficult to deal with. You see it all the time. You think somebody's coming back, that person comes back, and then, something goes wrong, and they're out another couple of weeks. I mean, we see it over and over and over again across all sports. So the nature of the injury that Kayshon Boutte has, even though it's grade 1, which is great news, you still have to hope that he's able to come back and come back quickly. And we know Kayshon Boutte, his impact on this offense, we're talking about a guy that gets downfield. He might not be a speed merchant, as they say, but he's made so many plays downfield. He is arguably, and we had the stats going back a couple of weeks ago, but he has arguably been one of the best receivers in the NFL when it comes to the deep passing game. And so you're going to need your hamstrings to get downfield, man. You need your hamstrings to cut in and out. So we keep our fingers crossed. Kayshon Boutte, if he's out for an extended period of time, do you trust Kyle Williams? And Kyle Williams obviously ran the wrong route after watching it over again on Monday morning. Kyle Williams runs the wrong timed route, and Drake Maye and they don't have the connection, football ends up being behind Williams. Now, Kyle Williams was open, but the timing was off. And that's because he's not getting as many reps with Drake Maye. There were also, I will tell you, there were times earlier in the game, there were a couple of times in the first quarter that Kyle Williams is out there, and I thought Kyle Williams was open on 2 occasions, and Drake just doesn't get the football to him. Now, is it because he wasn't to the progression? Was it because he just doesn't trust him? I'm not sure. But I can tell you, the miscommunication later in the game, certainly not going to result in Drake Maye trusting Kyle Williams any more than he had before that moment. So you look at the impact on the deep passing game, which has been a huge strength for Drake Maye. And again, we saw it happen on Sunday against the Falcons. Couple plays downfield, the Stephon Diggs 21-yard gain, the Pop Douglas 58-yard gain. We see these throws down the field every week, and they can change your offense. They can change the dynamic of a game. And now you're taking away Kayshon Boutte, who has been the best when it comes to that element of your offense. And we know that Drake Maye, he has a ton of trust in Kayshon Boutte. This puts more on Mac Hollins. Maybe Stephon Diggs plays out towards the boundary a little bit more. But Kyle Williams is going to get more opportunity. If there isn't a trade made, he's going to get more opportunity, and he's going to make the most of it. Then you have Christian Elliss with his hip injury. This is another problem. Linebacker is a position we've talked about all year. You're not deep. You're not deep there. Robert Spillane has mostly done a very good job. Thought he took a slight step back against the Falcons after watching it again on Monday morning. Jack Gibbons, he's okay. He made a couple of good plays. One time he absolutely skunked a screen pass that was set for Bijan Robinson, a great play by Jack Gibbons in that instance, but he doesn't consistently pop, let's say, when you watch games. He's not necessarily a disaster, but he doesn't do much that makes you jump off your couch. And Marte Mapu. Now, Marte Mapu played, some snaps against the Falcons. Wasn't that bad. But you also had the huge coverage bust by Marte Mapu. I think it was against the Browns on their first drive, which helped lead the Browns down the field to put up a touchdown. So you don't necessarily trust Marte Mapu to play 35, 40 snaps. Jack Gibbons is okay, a little up and down. You might look at Jelani Tavai, but with Keon White no longer being in town and Anthony Jennings not getting a ton of snaps, Jelani Tavai might end up being needed at defensive end. And Robert Spillane, what's he, 28, 29 years old? And so asking him to play, as many snaps as he's played, and you want to keep putting him out there and having him at the age of 29 play as many snaps as he has been throughout the rest of this season, and you now have your eyes on the postseason, right? So, man, they're thin at linebacker if Christian Elliss is going to miss time, and hopefully he doesn't. And then, of course, you get the Rhamondre Stevenson thing, and we saw some of it on Sunday against Atlanta. We mentioned it in the first segment. TreVeyon Henderson's blitz protection has not been very good. It's been up and down at best. And, we saw it play out on Sunday. I thought that TreVeyon Henderson's vision, patience for inside runs, not the best. Hopefully he continues to improve there. Terrell Jennings is effective, but he is a north-south guy. He's not going to bounce many runs to the outside. Trust me. At least he didn't against the Falcons. There was an opportunity or two for him to take a different path. He is going to get what you block. He's going to run strong and angry. He's going to pick up some extra yards after contact, but he's not an electric, elusive guy. And then you have Dearness Johnson, who was just signed last week. So you look at running back, you look at linebacker, you look at wide receiver, 3 positions where we could say, if you lose one guy, that could have a huge impact. All 3 positions now have been hit the past 2 weeks. Hopefully these guys are able to come back sooner rather than later. All right, we'll tell you why Raheem Morris's complaints about the Pats are embarrassing, and our all 22 takeaways. Coming up next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. You always have a shot to enjoy the game and enjoy the action. It is awesome. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. I love same-game parlays. I've had my share of winning those using that nice little SGP icon on game days. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'll tell you again, right now, FanDuel giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So after the game on Sunday, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all of y'all. Don't forget to help a brother out, help the podcast out. Raheem Morris, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, was complaining after the game. And there was a big down late in this game. You will all remember it. It was a 2nd and 10. It was the play where Michael Penix gets an intentional grounding penalty. The snap was off. Raheem Morris blamed the timing of the snap. He blamed it on the Patriots, saying that they were trying to simulate the snap by clapping their hands. Reminds me of like college football. If you watch it on Saturdays, right? The quarterback. Whoa, I just knocked my mic over. I'll have a crooked mic the rest of this episode. Oh, well. Say la vie. So, you get the clap, right? You get the quarterbacks clapping in college football. Well, Raheem Morris was saying that the Patriots, they were clapping, and they were trying to throw off the snap from Michael Penix. And I watched this play on the all 22 film. I watched this play at least 5 or 6 times, at least, maybe even more. And I kept looking at everybody on the defense. I'm looking at the defensive line. I'm looking at the second level. I'm looking at the third level. And the only person who seemingly claps without hitting the mic this time is Jalen Hawkins. And Jalen Hawkins is clapping, it looks like, to get the attention of, I believe it's Carlton Davis. He's trying to communicate with his teammate about the play because after he claps, he makes a motion with his hands, and then the snap happens. Jalen Hawkins is not trying to simulate the clapping and to throw the timing of the snap off from 20 yards away. It's not happening. It's just not happening. He's trying to communicate with his teammate. This was not a case of the Patriots cheating. This was not a case of the Patriots trying to, pull one over on the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. It was your safety well on the back end trying to communicate with his teammate. And it's a 2nd and 10. It's in the fourth quarter. Gillette Stadium is loud. I mean, come on. What are we doing? And Raheem Morris should be better than that, by the way. Because if you're gonna go out there and you're gonna publicly say what he said, you best be right. You best go watch the film. You best figure out, what the Patriots were doing and whether or not it was intentional. To go out there right after the game and point your finger at the Patriots and saying, for all intents and purposes, that they were cheating to throw your snap off, you better be right. I mean, it's just an embarrassing situation for Raheem Morris to go out there. It's crybaby-like tendencies there, right? Stop crying. The Patriots did not try to throw your snap count off by clapping. I mean, give me a freaking break. By the way, this is a guy, Raheem Morris, by the way, he played safety. That was his position. He played safety. So if anybody knows the scenario that Jalen Hawkins is going through, it would be Raheem Morris. I thought it was embarrassing. It's a complete joke, and it holds zero weight. The Patriots did not try to throw off the Falcons using their safety 15, 20 yards away. It's outrageous. All right, let's give some other all 22 takeaways for you. I thought Jared Wilson had a rough day. We talked about it a little bit during the first segment. I thought Jared Wilson had a rough day, especially in the second half. I had him for like 4 or 5 minus plays in the second half. Pass protection, he was being pushed back. Run game, he's been inconsistent. He was good last week in the run game, but little inconsistent this past weekend. I thought Will Campbell, meanwhile, he was okay. I think he would want, 2 or 3 reps back. We talked about one of the reps earlier when Jalen Walker just obliterated Will Campbell and ended up with a sack, 9-yard loss. I think I said it was at like the Atlanta 14-yard line. Really rough rep for Will Campbell on that play. Now, TreVeyon Henderson, when I gave him credit for the sack, I know some people will say they'll give a half a credit to Will Campbell on that play because there was a spin move. I don't think Will Campbell is in trouble against the spin move if TreVeyon Henderson isn't beat on his blitz protection. I think because TreVeyon Henderson gets beat on the blitz protection, that makes Drake Maye move into pretty much the spin move. But I thought Will Campbell, all in all, he was okay. Again, there were probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 reps that he wants back. But I thought he was good in the run game, and I thought he was okay in pass protection. Milton Williams was a monster in this game. He continues to be awesome. He has been worth every single solitary penny the Patriots paid him in free agency. He had 6 or 7 plus plays, and probably even more. He had at least a handful of pressures in this game. He was a monster, and his motor is incredible. He plays hard every single snap. So Milton Williams was tremendous. I thought Harold Landry was really good. And, you watch these edge guys and you fall in love with the pass rush and you fall in love with the pressure. And I get it, right? We talked about it. Not enough pressure on the Falcons on Sunday, but Harold Landry's work on the edge. I thought 3 or 4 times in this game, he was really good on the edge. And he helped contain some plays where, Bijan Robinson is trying to bounce him to the outside. They're trying to hit some quick plays to the outside, some screen plays. I thought Harold Landry, and you can mix in 1 or 2 pressures as well that he had. I thought he was mostly really good against the Falcons. I also thought Christian Gonzalez was good. Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones, all 3 of those guys were good against the run. Christian Gonzalez multiple times downhill, making tackles. So I thought your defensive backs getting involved, screaming downhill, being physical, and making some tackles, good job by those guys. Patriots blitzed every once in a while. It wasn't, I would say consistent or overwhelming from what I saw. I thought their blitzing was hit or miss. They sent 6 guys multiple times, and it was a mixed bag. Sometimes it would work. Other times it would absolutely not work. They're just trying to get pressure on the quarterback any way they can. All right, I also want to give you some key plays that I want to make sure that we do not overlook when I was watching the game on Monday morning. Second quarter, 3rd and 7, Drake Maye extends, makes a tight window throw off one leg to Hunter Henry to convert on the 3rd and 7. It was a tremendous play by Drake Maye, ridiculously tight window, and eventually Terrell Jennings scores a touchdown later on that drive. Second quarter, 4th and 2 for Atlanta. Christian Gonzalez, really good against Drake London. This was a 4th and 2 on the New England 29-yard line. Their best versus your best. This time, Christian Gonzalez won. Shut down Drake London, pass breakup, Patriots take over. Then you had third quarter, 2nd and 14. We talked about the offensive line struggling, picking up some stunts. Garrett Bradbury actually does a good job on this play, 2nd and 14. He picks up a stunt by the Atlanta Falcons defensive line. Drake Maye, meanwhile, makes a fantastic anticipatory throw to Pop Douglas. That was the play where Pop comes down with it. They ruled him just short. Mike Vrabel challenges. He wins the challenge. First down on a 2nd and 14. Eventually, the Patriots get a field goal to make it 24-14. Fourth quarter, 2nd and 6 for the Falcons on the New England 20. Marcus Jones does a great job fighting off a hold that wasn't called, kind of spins out of the hold, and he forces, I believe it was Bijan Robinson, forces him further outside. Christian Gonzalez comes downhill, responsible against the run, and has the tackle. No gain. Forces a 3rd and 6. On that next play, Michael Penix misses Drake London. Pretty good coverage by Christian Gonzalez near the boundary. Because of those back-to-back plays, Atlanta, they were looking at a 2nd and 6 from the New England 20. They're held to a field goal. Finally, fourth quarter, 3rd and 12 from his own 34. Drake Maye, really good pocket movement, steps up calmly. Unreal throw to Stephon Diggs downfield. Great catch by Stephon Diggs for 21 yards. The Patriots don't score on that drive, but that completely flipped. It swung the field position in favor of the Patriots. So, handful of plays that should not be overlooked. All right, that wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Got to fix my mic here. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Reach out to me on Twitter at NickCRadio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button and subscribe. And for your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast with Tyler the Madman Rowland and Tony Wiggins. You can find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.